Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're digging into something, well, pretty unsettling. It's a question about who we really are versus who we present ourselves to be. When we talk about self-control, are we actually showing maturity? Are we choosing to evolve? Or is it something maybe a bit more insidious, like a subtle self-betrayal that could even be, making us anxious? Think about it. We go through life, we nod, someone stresses us out, and we just say, sure, no problem. Even when deep down something's boiling, we just say, I'm fine. Why? Why that quiet little lie again and again?
Because very often, that sigh you swallow down, that quiet agreement,
Yeah.
it's actually not a choice you're making freely. The idea we're wrestling with today is pretty sharp. This whole concept of being civilized, well, it works on one level, but maybe it's not real growth, maybe. Maybe it's more like a colonization.
Of the self.
Colonization of the self, okay.
Yeah. We're here to look at the real cost of joining the civilization club. And the price, according to the thinking we've looked into, it seems to be giving up our own autonomy, our own sort of wildness. Okay, let's get into that colonization idea right away. We all know that feeling, right? That simmering anger. Like when a coworker totally takes credit for your idea. Or maybe a family member just dismisses how utterly exhausted you are. You take a breath, count to 10, you hold it in, and maybe you even feel a little bit proud of that restraint. But I mean, if we didn't hold back, wouldn't we just be chaotic, impulsive? Isn't some self-control just necessary maturity?
You call it maturity, that restraint. But here's the devastating question, isn't it? Who taught you to be ashamed of that anger in the first place? Who convinced you that feeling those boundaries, that urge to push back, was somehow morally wrong? You think you're the one in charge, the self calmly managing things. But if you look really closely, you see this incredibly powerful control system running, the one that puts a guard inside your own mind.
A guard?
Yeah, policing your feelings, watching your thoughts, punishing your impulses before they even surface. That guard, that's the superego.
Right, the superego, the internalized authority. But okay, if it's a guard, how is it different from just having a healthy conscience? I mean, a conscience stops you stealing. This sounds different, more pervasive.
Exactly. It doesn't need a uniform or loud voice. It often speaks really softly, persistently. It's the echo of all those cultural authorities, absorbed over years. It's not just laws on paper. It's the whisper of your mother's worry, maybe your teacher's disappointed sigh. Or those corporate slogans, team players put the group first. Or, and this one is everywhere today, that relentless pressure for good vibes only. It sets the rules. Don't be too much, don't take up space, don't make things difficult, just don't be real.
So we soak all this up, this external pressure, and then we think that voice is our own moral compass.
Precisely. We mix up morality with having a conscience. But Freud was pretty clear on this. Morality, often, it isn't about some inherent goodness. It's an organizing principle. It's about group survival. And for the group to survive, the individual has to make a sacrifice. Not your money, not your time, but your instincts.
Instincts.
Your aggression, your lust, your need for raw truth, your wildness. That's the entry fee for civilization. And you pay it, often, with self-betrayal.
Okay, let's make this concrete. Think about that feeling, that pang of shame maybe, when you stay quiet in a big meeting. You had a great idea, really solid, but you held back. You thought, oh, it's too bold, or it might disrupt the harmony. And then someone else, maybe with a weaker idea, pipes up and gets all the praise.
That moment. It's a perfect window into how the superego works.
Yeah.
The self-criticism that hits you afterwards, it isn't really, why wasn't I braver? No. The question you have to ask is, who taught me that speaking my mind is dangerous? Where did that lesson come from? Maybe the friend group that teased anyone who stood out? The parent who just wanted quiet compliance?
But hold on. If I had followed my instinct in that meeting, say, yelled at my boss or really aggressively pushed my idea over a senior person, I mean, I probably would have been fired, right? Isn't holding back sometimes just basic survival in the workplace?
But that's the genius of the control system. It doesn't need to actually whip you. It teaches you to whip yourself. It takes that functional survival need and turns it into a moral imperative. You shame yourself before anyone else can.
Wow.
You learn to want only what the system allows.
So professional success, the right kind of relationship, even acceptable daydreams.
Yes. It's all edited. That internalization, it goes deep. The fear of getting fired, the fear of being rejected, those feels become the physical proof of the superego's grip on you.
It really does sound like the outside world, all its rules, its judgments, its fears, literally packs its bags and moves inside our heads, becomes our mental architecture. So then when we try to act authentically, try to push against those internal rules, it doesn't feel like fighting oppression anymore. It feels like we're becoming unhinged, losing ourselves.
Exactly that. Rebellion feels monstrous. Going against the superego feels like losing your very character because you've mistaken the cage bars for your own skeleton. But here's the thing. In the process of making ourselves smaller, more manageable, we don't just squash the bad stuff, we squash pure life force. Aggression isn't just violence, it's needed to set boundaries. Lust isn't just sex, it's fundamental aliveness. Suppress them, and yes, you become manageable.
And culture loves manageable people. They're productive, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Manageable people don't start revolutions. They optimize their workflows. They write blogs about finding balance. They beat themselves up for not hitting their KPIs. They don't scream about injustice. Maybe they post a black square on Instagram for a day. They self-regulate. They run on guilt. They're always striving to be quieter, more efficient. And the result?
They're safer for the system.
Safer. And often more dead inside.
Okay, so if we're suppressing all this energy, if repression makes us numb and small, where does it all go? All that vitality, the instinct, the anger, the raw, it can't just vanish.
No, it doesn't vanish. That energy, that's the cost Freud talked about. It's the price of the grand compromise. We trade our raw instincts for social order. But the payment is neurosis. It's the anxiety, the depression, that constant low-level hum telling you something inside is dying because you buried it alive. And civilization has this elegant but tragic trick for managing all that buried energy. It's called sublimation.
Sublimation, I usually hear about that as a positive thing, right? Like turning negative impulses into art or work. What's the tragic part?
Well, yes. It transforms the raw, the unacceptable, into something socially valued. You don't punch your father. Maybe you become a hyper-aggressive, successful CEO instead. You don't scream into the void about life's cruelty. Maybe you write beautiful, melancholic poetry. It lets you channel forbidden drives while keeping up appearances. You even feel good about it. But the tragedy is, every single act of sublimation is also a kind of funeral. It's a masterpiece, maybe, but it's built on a graveyard of desires you never got to live out. Every productive citizen is walking around haunted by the ghost of a wilder self they had to kill off to succeed.
That's, wow, a horrifying thought. That our achievements are basically monuments to what we've killed inside. This must tie into the big drives, right? Eros and Thanatos, life and death.
Directly. Our whole psychic setup is this dance between the life drive, Eros connection, creation, sex, vitality, and the death drive. Thanatos, the drive towards stillness, breaking down, silence, peace, even destruction. Culture demands we split them. It wants a sanitized Eros, nice, safe, domesticated love and passion, and it absolutely wants to exile Thanatos, shove it away.
When you say Thanatos, most people jump to literal death, but hearing you now, it sounds more like burnout, or that feeling of quiet quitting, or just that deep urge to disengage from the endless grind.
Precisely. We're pushed to have passion, but without any real danger. So when that suppressed Thanatos inevitably rises, not as overt aggression maybe, but as that urge to just stop, to disappear into stillness, or as profound clinical exhaustion. What do we call it? We call it depression. We pathologize our own deep need for rest, for silence, for an ending to the striving, because culture insists we stay perpetually switched on. Energized, but never dangerous, creative, but never disruptive. We've sublimated our aggression into the hustle, haven't we? And our deep need for stillness gets repackaged as mindfulness or gratitude practice that somehow never lets us actually stop.
Which brings us maybe to the feeling that underlies so much of this, that unconscious guilt, that low hum of anxiety even when things are going well, that feeling you're waiting for the other shoe to drop, or that little voice nagging, you're being lazy the second you try to actually rest. Why? Why feel guilty when you haven't actually done anything wrong?
That's the superego doing its primary job, punishing you for existing too fully. The superego at its core is inherently cruel. It doesn't primarily want you to be happy or even successful in a fulfilling way. It wants you to suffer, because your suffering proves your loyalty to the group, to the structure. It's this sick trade. Give up your vitality, your authentic desires, and in return, you get to feel virtuous, moral, mature.
And in our modern world, particularly in these liberal, supposedly meritocratic societies, this cruelty gets twisted, doesn't it? It feels like personal failure.
Absolutely. You're not being crushed by impossible demands or systemic flaws. No, you're just not resilient enough. Your job isn't soul-destroying. You just need to set better boundaries. The system itself always remains perfect in your mind, which means you must be the problem. The superego has done its job perfectly. It's convinced you that your own instincts are the enemy, and your exhaustion is just proof you haven't optimized yourself enough.
Which leads us to the really devastating paradox, the final twist. Maybe we don't actually want to be truly free.
We become addicted to our own repression. Why? Because it gives us structure. It gives us meaning, even if it's a painful meaning. Freedom. Freedom is terrifying. It's the absence of clear rules, the potential loss of belonging. We build our whole identity on our chains. I'm the calm one, I'm the responsible one, I'm the good Tarzan employee. Take away the superego, rip down the cage, and what's left isn't some radiant, liberated soul ready to fly. Often it's just a trembling animal staring into the abyss. And honestly, most people prefer the familiar cage.
And even the things meant to help, therapy, meditation, self-help books, so often they just teach us how to be, well, more efficient prisoners, right? How to manage the pain of the cage, not question the cage itself.
The language might be modern, healing, alignment, integration, but the function, often ancient. We're still looking for salvation by becoming politer, quieter, better adjusted to our own suffering instead of demanding the structure that wounded us actually change. We learn to optimize our misery.
So maybe the core takeaway for anyone listening is this. That anxiety, that numbness, that bone-deep exhaustion, these aren't signs you've failed. They're messages. They're whispers from the part of you that's still fighting, the part refusing to be fully colonized.
That's the absolute crucial point. Real freedom isn't handed to you. It's never polite. It's taken. And it always costs you something, usually. Your comfortable place at the table.
Yeah.
It might cost your reputation for being easygoing, your sense of being a good person, maybe even your professional security. To really challenge the superego, you have to look hard at the price and decide what you're actually willing to lose.
That voice inside, the one that says don't, the one that tells you to swallow your truth, swallow your heat, that's not your conscience talking. It's the bars of your cage.
And here's the cruelest part. That voice, it so often speaks in the language of love. You hold back because you love your family, you love your partner, you love your community, and you're terrified of losing their acceptance, their love. You pay for belonging with self-betrayal. That voice is so dangerous because it feels like care. It feels like protection. So maybe the final thought to leave you with, the really provocative one, is this. What did you just repress while listening to this? What impulse, what truth, what desire flickered and died inside you just now? The tiny tremor of resistance, that's where your freedom might just begin.